Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. The Stand Your Ground laws are in the national spotlight because of the Trayvon Martin killing. But bills are stalled in states like Iowa, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. They're getting a second look. Although in Florida and more than a dozen other states, there is nothing being done to prevent a killing like this from happening again. But Bill O'Reilly has declared the story is over. He criticized MSNBC and other media outlets for continuing to bring attention to the Trayvon Martin case.
No media observer knows exactly what happened the night Trayvon Martin was killed. Yet there they are, bloviating all over the place, exploiting the death of a young man, inciting violence against the system. Awful.
By talking about the case, Bill O'Reilly says we're exploiting Martin's death and inciting violence. Martin family attorney Benjamin Crump was there to set O'Reilly straight.
The only reason that the state stepped in was because of the media and the public. And at this point, the longer things go without anything happening, the next story comes and you kind of forget about this
that's not going to happen in this case.
Well,
you know that.
I hope, but Bill,
there's no way. I won't let it happen.
Oh, he won't let it happen. How generous of you, Bill O'Reilly. But there's a reason the folks might not rely on you for a story like this. You see, according to Bill O'Reilly, racial problems in America are gone.
It's a much more interesting country, America, if we stop with the race business, I think. I mean, I'm not black, so I don't know your struggle, and you don't know my struggle, all right, because you're not white. But after 9/11, we pretty much dropped that race stuff, did we not? We pretty much were all Americans there, right? All right? I hear yes, I hear no.
No, the audience didn't agree with O'Reilly. I was there and witnessed it. We don't agree with him now when he says we should stop covering the Trayvon Martin case. And here's why we shouldn't stop covering it.
What we hopefully have is a dialogue saying, how can this investigation have happened like this, where you get to the scene and an unarmed kid is killed and he's allowed to go home that same night?
Because of that law in Florida. See, that law in Florida changes everything.
Exactly, Bill. The Florida Stand Your Ground law created the conditions for this killing and the chaotic aftermath. So at least we agree on this point. But Bill O'Reilly seems to be misinformed about Stand Your Ground.
That law in Florida changes everything. In another state, that never would have happened.
Really? It would have never happened. Good research, Bill. Hang on a second. Any other state? There are more than a dozen states with Stand Your Ground laws which were implemented under the full lobbying force of the National Rifle Association. Let's look at some of those other states. Let's take, for instance, Texas. Let's go back to 2007. A man named Joe Horn took full advantage of the Stand Your Ground law to kill two men who were breaking into his neighbor's house. This is the 911 call.
I've got a shotgun. Do you want me to stop him?
Nope, don't do that. Ain't no property worth shooting somebody over, okay? I don't want you to go outside that house. And I don't want you to have that gun in your hand when those officers are poking around over there.
I understand that, okay? But I have a right to protect myself too, sir, and you understand that.
Yes.
And the laws have been changed in this country since September the 1st, and you know it and I know it. They just stole something. I'm going out the window. I'm sorry. I ain't gonna let them get away with it. They stole something. They got a bag of
the house.
I'm doing it.
Mr. Horn, do not go outside the house.
This ain't right, buddy.
You're going to get yourself shot if you go outside that house with a gun.
You want to make a bet?
I don't want you going outside, Mr. Horn.
Well, here it goes, buddy. You hear the shotgun clicking, and I'm going.
Don't go outside.
Whoa, you're dead.
Joe Horn was told 14 times to stay inside his house. Instead, Horn ignored instructions, went outside, and shot two men to death. He was the judge, jury, and executioner, and he got off scot-free. Fox News treated Joe Horn as a hero.
When your life is on the line and you take a human life, I wanted to live, okay? I wanted to live. I was not going to let those two men kill me. And I can assure you, if they'd have got to me, they'd have killed me.
Bill O'Reilly can say there's no reason to cover the Trayvon Martin case, but Joe Horn proves him wrong. As long as these Stand Your Ground laws are on the books, Americans have the right to kill other Americans without being physically threatened. I mean, we've seen it. Bill O'Reilly seems to understand that the Florida Stand Your Ground law is bad. At Fox News, look at this. He has the access to Florida Senator Marco Rubio and some powerful Florida decision makers, maybe like Jeb Bush, who signed the law back in 2005. When will these people be on the O'Reilly factor? When will Bill O'Reilly get maybe an NRA representative on his own show and ask them why these stand your ground laws are so doggone necessary? In that 911 tape, 2 men were hunted down. No question about it. And I think there was some hunting going on February 26th. The folks are waiting for the call, Bill. What do you say? Don't spin this one. You for or against the stand your ground law? Get your cell phones out. Want to know what you think. Tonight's questions. Are the stand your ground laws costing Americans their lives? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. You can always go to our blog, leave a comment at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. Now, this is the center of the entire conversation. Where are we going to move forward with these laws on the books in this country? And do we have lawmakers who have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to these radicals out there who are so afraid that there's just gun grabbers everywhere? Innocent people are dying. Confrontations are taking place that don't have to take place. I am joined tonight by Natalie Jackson, an attorney for the Trayvon Martin's family, and Jonathan Capehart, an MSNBC contributor and Washington Post opinion writer. Great to have both of you with us tonight.
Hi, Ed.
Ms. Jackson, let me ask you, what's your response when you hear someone saying that we should stop covering the case until the investigation is finished?
Well, we've talked about this among our team. The family is very tired. They, however, feel that they need this press, they need the media, because without the people, without the support, they would have never gotten a special prosecutor, they would have never gotten a grand jury. This was a family that was told, your child is dead, George Zimmerman has claimed self-defense, case closed.
Natalie, isn't the story right now spreading out to Iowa, Minnesota, and Massachusetts, where these stand your ground laws are getting some serious scrutiny and they're not flying through the legislative sessions or getting the gubernatorial signatures that they got in the past? I mean, are we seeing somewhat of a sea change here, a review of what we're doing with gun laws?
We are seeing that, but we're seeing actually, more importantly, a review and understanding of what the gun laws say. In this case, people have purposely misconstrued the justified use of force law. The justified use of force is for an innocent person who's being attacked. It says you don't have to retreat, you can defend yourself. Here we had George Zimmerman get out of his car, stop and pursue Trayvon, according to his own words. That's not me saying that. That is George Zimmerman saying that on the dispatch tape.
Jonathan, I want to point out what happened today. The National Rifle Association was in Alaska lobbying for a stand your ground law, similar legislation in several states. Has the coverage of the Trayvon Martin case contributed to the stalling of these laws, in your opinion?
I would think so. I mean, at least I would hope so, that it would allow folks in these legislatures around the country to reconsider what they're doing. Not necessarily stop doing a stand your ground law. Remember, the Florida law, if I remember correctly, is on the far extreme of a lot of these stand your ground laws, so basically granting immunity from prosecution to people who use it. And as we're seeing it in high relief with George Zimmerman, so I think it would be incumbent upon legislators across the country who are considering a stand your ground law to take a look at what's happening in Florida and figure out how, if they decide to go ahead and do something as insane as implementing a stand your ground law, to at least not do it as insanely as has happened in Florida.
Well, this is the scary thing about this, as I see it. When you get a law like this passed and something happens, another state all of a sudden gets lobbying by people who are gun advocates saying, hey, you got to toughen these laws up in your state. You got to do what they did down in Florida, because this is what happened. And the next thing you know, they start cash whipping the legislators, and the next thing you know, a bill is introduced to strengthen the laws that are on the book and stand your ground. Who knows where the hell it's all going to end up. Natalie, the New York Daily News spoke to an ex-co-worker, George Zimmerman. He told them Zimmerman was fired from his job as a party security guard. And these are some of the quotes. He said it was like Jekyll and Hyde. When the dude snapped, he snapped. He had a temper and he became a liability. How does this play into your potential case against George Zimmerman?
Well, that's going to go to his character and what he is. In this case, we have case evidence from his 2005 arrest that he has a propensity towards violence, and even violence towards a law enforcement officer. That plays a lot into who George Zimmerman is and who really was the aggressor in this case. They want to bring up Trayvon's school records. However, nowhere in Trayvon's school records will you find any criminal activity or propensity towards violence.
Jonathan, do you agree with Mr. Crump, the other attorney, who says that the case would be closed if the media did not cover this?
Absolutely. Think about it. We're now talking about this for the second full week. This is March 30th. Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by George Zimmerman on February 26th. It took that long for the national media to get whipped up and start talking about this, myself included. I didn't write my first piece until a week ago this past Sunday. So yeah, were it not for the media, were it not for the groundswell of attention being paid to this case by print media and also television media, and particularly us here at MSNBC, yeah, I think Mr. Crump is absolutely right. The media in this case is the sunshine of what's happening. A lot of the things that we know now, we wouldn't have known if a lot of us in the press were not asking serious questions and focusing like a laser beam on Sanford.
Natalie Jackson, Jonathan Capehart, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate your time. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts on Twitter @edshow. We want to know what you always think.